I like to do these quarterly educational workshops because I feel like there is so much information out there and it's confusing. So I do the hard work and I research and I read and I pick it all apart and try to give you the best information that I can. So we're talking about Alzheimer's disease, a functional approach to prevention and treatment. And I always like to give credit when I use other people's information. I used information from Dr. Sarah Gottfried, and all of you guys are going to get one of her books tonight. And from Dr. Dale Bredesen, who's done a lot of pioneering work in Alzheimer's and dementia. And I could not really have done this workshop without Metagenics educating me, giving me the information, and for my Rep Al Thompson for helping me get it all together and always providing me with the best information. Okay, so it's a lot of information, but I write it down so that some people like to take a picture because they're interested in a particular page, but it's always nice when we can hear it and read it at the same time. So a little bit of terminology. So when we talk about dementia, we're talking about a global cognitive decline in which many mental abilities are lost. We might have difficulty with memory, reading, writing, speaking, following conversations, reasoning, calculating, planning. And what would be the cause of that? It could be vascular, it could be Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's would be the most common. So let's talk about Alzheimer's. So it's a form of dementia marked by amyloid plaques in the brain and neurofibrillary tangles. They are often referred to as tau tangles. Diagnosed based on symptoms and MRI. And I have seen people just diagnosed based on symptoms alone. A person with Alzheimer's may eventually experience severe memory loss, cognitive deficits, and a loss of the ability to take care of themselves. Okay, that's commonly what we see later, much later in Alzheimer's. And sadly, 65% of Alzheimer's patients are female. So some very scary statistics, and wherever you read about Alzheimer's, you'll get different numbers, but it is the third leading cause of death in the United States and the #1 cause of death in the UK. The current standard of treatment, Alzheimer's is fatal because they cannot stop it. They can give medications to slow it down. It's a $1 trillion global problem and potentially could bankrupt Medicare. Why? Because we're all living longer, right? And there's tremendous costs involved in treating people with Alzheimer's. It affects the patient themselves, the family, and the caregiver. So there are different types of Alzheimer's disease. Type 1 would be inflammatory. So, and depending on where you're looking at information from, you'll see Alzheimer's disease explained differently. But we do type 1, type 2, type 3. So type 1 would be the inflammatory kind. That would be people that usually have the genetic marker. It could start as early as a person in their 40s. It could start as late as a person in their 70s, which is still very early, isn't it? Right? And since we're all living longer, no one wants to start that in their 70s. In blood work, we would see several inflammatory markers. If your doctor is proactive enough to check those inflammatory markers. And here's a really big part of this one. We've heard the terminology leaky gut. or intestinal permeability. So we know that the brain is the second gut. So if you have a leaky gut, you most often will have a leaky brain. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So I'm not just dropping that topic, because I talk about leaky gut all the time. Type 2 would be atrophic, or what would be called hormonal. And so vitamin D would be part of that, because vitamin D is a hormone. Again, a genetic marker. You would see on blood work many different hormonal imbalances. Again, if your doctor is proactive enough to run those tests, that's important. This would usually happen later in life than type 1, the inflammatory kind. Then there's type 3, which is toxic. There would be a different genetic marker here, the ApoE3, a little bit different than the other two. This can happen much younger, in the 40s to early 60s. I actually have one of my nutrition clients, her husband, started experiencing this in his early 50s. It usually follows a great life stressor, like a death in the family, or a huge stressor at work, or a relationship. It starts with difficulties with numbers, so a little bit different presentation than we might think, right? Difficulty with numbers, difficulties with speech and organizing, not really memory issues. So most people would think dementia, Alzheimer's, you would have memory issues. This one starts a little bit different. And if you have a doctor that knows enough to order the right tests, then he would be able to, or she would be able to pick this up. Here's a very alarming statistic. 12.8% of the World Trade Center first responders actually started experiencing cognitive decline in their 50s because of the tremendous toxins that they breathed in, that they touched, that they were exposed to for days and weeks on end before anybody realized what was happening. So present medications, so we're talking about the medical model, right? Present medications cannot address the root cause of this problem, but it can provide symptom relief, right? So what can we do? And I mean the collective we. Well, we can look into prevention and functional treatment. We could actually, and I did not make up this word, we could get a cognoscopy. So that was from Dr. Bredesen's book. I love the term. And it's about getting a brain checkup. We get checkups for everything else, don't we? We get our colonoscopy, mammography, we get blood work done. But who really is checking our brain to make sure that everything is okay? So we'd want to evaluate any potential contributing factors at an early age. So I would say, like in our late 40s, we would want to have this kind of a checkup. So we would want to do an online cognitive assessment. We could do something like Cognitrax, CanTab, and you can, if you go on Google, you can look these all up. We could do a mini mental state exam. It's known as the MMSE, or the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. So anyone can do those. You can download them, print them out, and do them. And I think that many of these sites actually, you can either send them in, or you can, they tell you how to score your own test. So that would be very interesting. You could have blood work. So we could get genetic testing. You could do things like the ApoE genetic testing. You could do MTHFR. So I don't know if anybody in this room knows MTHFR. Okay, so MTHFR talks about our ability to attach a methyl group to our B12 and folate. And why is that so important? because in order for our cells to properly detoxify, we need to be able to have that ability to do it. 40% of the population is unable to do that. So what would that mean if we never had the genetic testing done? Well, you have to take very good quality methylated B vitamins. So in this office, we use Metagenics Phytomulti because we know that their B vitamins are methylated. So if someone is not able to have that test done, at least we know that we're covering that just in case. We would want to get our vitamin B6, B12, and folate levels. We would want to get our omega-6 to omega-3 ratio done. And in our office, we use SpectraCell micronutrient testing. It's a wonderful test. It talks about our ability to absorb nutrients and vitamins from the food that we eat, from the good quality supplements that we're taking, and if we're not taking good quality ones, it'll let us know that. So some of the information that's in your packets, SpectraCell actually gave us. So there's lots of great information in it. And for people with Medicare, the micronutrient testing is, I believe it's like $88. You know, it's a great test. We can get our fasting insulin checked. It should be less than 5. Our fasting glucose, it should be between 70 and 85. And our hemoglobin A1C done, it should be less than 5.5. These are not lab values that I wrote here. These are functional values, functional ranges. That's where our body works best in that range. We would want to get our albumin to globulin ratio. Our BMI, or our body mass index, should be between 18 and 25. My clients, we use the InBody to calculate their BMI. But if you don't have access to that, you can actually calculate it yourself. We would want to do a CBC and a complete metabolic panel, and definitely a lipid panel. We would want to get our glutathione status done. Anybody know what glutathione is? Glutathione is the most powerful and abundant antioxidant in our body. And it's very important to know how well are we manufacturing it, because if we're not, then we need to either give our body the tools that it needs to make glutathione, or we need to take glutathione. So either way, and actually SpectraCell, that's one of the tests on SpectraCell. We would want to know our vitamin D levels. We would want to know all of our hormones, all of our sex hormones. We would want to know about our thyroid, not just a TSH and a T4, right? That's a pretty standard medical thyroid snapshot, a TSH and a T4, but there's so much more to understanding proper thyroid function than a TSH and a T4. In my office, we run at least these tests, and sometimes we add a couple more in there. We would want to know, are we being exposed to toxins? Let's say we have a job where we work with chemicals, or we're in an environment where we might be getting exposed. We would want to know mercury, lead, cadmium, and our copper to zinc ratio. So here's where we talk about the gut. It's actually one of my favorite topics. Anyone that comes in my office, whether they come in for weight loss or help with their cholesterol or pre-diabetes or diabetes, we're always looking at the gut, because nothing good happens in the human body unless your gut is healthy. So we use the Vibrant Wheat Zoomer Leaky Gut Test. We might do a stool test. You know, in your gut, so the gut is not the stomach, right? It's the intestines. There's 100 different trillion bacteria in our gut. And again, we said leaky gut, leaky brain, because the brain and the gut are connected and talk to each other all day long by the vagus nerve. So whatever we put in here affects our gut, and then our gut sends messages to our brain. So if we found that you did have a leaky gut, we would put you on a gut repair protocol. That might include L-glutamine. It would definitely include one of my favorite products called Glutagenics, which has a very high dose of L-glutamine in there. And I'm very excited that Metagenics just released their Ultraflora Biome Pro, which is 100 trillion.
105 billion.
105 billion. 105 billion. I was getting carried away. Okay, 105 billion.
Well, after a billion.
Yeah, true. 105 billion bacteria count. So we're very excited about that, and I'm waiting for my order to come in so I can start using that. We would want to look at your diet. So here's where a lot of the work comes back to us individually, right? We want to take out trans fats, so we wouldn't eat any fried foods. Eating at restaurants, we know that they are not using good, healthy oils. If we're getting takeout or eating at restaurants, does that mean that none of us are ever going to eat out at a restaurant? No. But when we're home and when we're cooking for ourselves, we would pick good monounsaturated oils to cook with. My favorite oil besides extra virgin olive oil is MCT oil. That's medium chain triglyceride oil. So medium chain triglycerides, and of course I have to again go with Metagenics because their oil is so clean you can actually take it off a spoon and not taste anything. It doesn't smell like oil, it doesn't taste like oil. We use it a lot for the ketogenic diet, but I use it to cook with. I use it for salad dressing. Medium chain triglycerides are great for our cardiovascular health, great for our metabolism. And if you have any questions about any of the products, I'm happy to answer that. We would want to eat, again, good, healthy, monounsaturated fats like olives, nuts, avocado, and again, MCT oil. We'd want to increase our fiber because that helps us eliminate toxins. How do we get rid of a lot of toxins? Through our poop. That's the way to get rid of them, right? But you have to have a good system working. And also fiber helps keep our blood sugar under control, and it helps with weight loss if we need to lose some weight. We'd want to omit dairy. Why? Because dairy is inflammatory. Cow's milk, dairy products are very inflammatory. We'd want to eliminate gluten, grains, and alcohol. I know that's a tall order. I know it. When I was writing it, I said, oh, I don't know if I should write all that. But I'm saying omit them or limit them in your life. Yeah.
Is the dairy inflammatory because of the hormones? Or is it just inflammatory in and of itself?
For both reasons. So dairy is inflammatory because of the hormones, but if you buy organic milk that's not exposed to hormones, that's better, but it's cow's milk. It's a different kind of protein than humans should be actually consuming, right? Humans should consume human breast milk until, they're not breastfeeding anymore, and then we don't need to drink milk. I'll just tell you a really quick, funny story. I used to, when I had my children, I nursed them, and I would drive up to a farm in Piscataway that had goats. It was a beautiful, clean goat farm, and the farmer would come out to my car with jugs of warm goat's milk that he just milked. He put them in the cooler, and I would take them home. I never had a thought about, should I worry about bacteria, because I saw his farm and I saw that it was clean. But so my kids were raised on that. They didn't have cheese, they didn't have cow's milk. And when my middle son went to school, and he was in elementary school, he came home one day and I said, Jason, what's the matter? He's like, I did something wrong today. And I said, okay, well tell me and then we could talk about it. He goes, oh, you're gonna be mad. And I said, well, tell me what it was. And he said, I bought a milk today at school. And it was hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
So because he was really upset about it. And I said, well, why did you do that? He said, because everybody said milk is good, but it was disgusting, Mom. I spit it out, and then I told the teacher I'm throwing it away. I said, well, it's okay. Anytime you want to try something, just let me know. I'll get it for you. In your folder, you have some information about the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15, about what should we buy organic. What do we not need to buy that's organic? So buying organic, yes, it's very costly. So at least if you can stay with the ones that are listed on that paper, that's great. And I put minimal fruit consumption. Now I know we've always been taught that fruit is good for us, and it is good for us. The phytonutrients in fruit are great for us, but not the sugar. Fructose is actually very devastating to our blood sugar and insulin levels. So we, in this office, we use Phytoganics, which is a powder with some fiber in it, and it's all the phytonutrients that you would get by eating 15 fruits and vegetables every day. I'm checking with my rep because he's going to tell me yes or no, I'm right or wrong. Okay. We would want to eat smash fish, right? That's salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Honestly, I really only like salmon. The others are hard to take, but I do have lots of clients that love them, and so definitely eat those fish. Stop eating farmed fish, because farmed fish are fed a diet that they're not designed to eat. So when you do that to an animal or a fish, you change their cellular makeup, which actually changes their bacterial makeup, and then we eat them, and that is not good for us. We'd want to eat less than 50 grams of carbs a day. So ketogenic diet, we usually tell people 30 to 50 grams of carbs a day. It's not easy to do that. But if we limit our carbs to vegetables, because vegetables are carbs, we limit our carbs to vegetables as much as possible, it's pretty easy. You'd be surprised at how fast you sort of lose your taste for more sugary foods. And intermittent fasting. We here in our office, we do a 16-8 intermittent fast. You fast for 16 hours. So if you eat your dinner at 7 o'clock at night, you would fast till 7 o'clock in the morning. That would give you 12, and then add 5 more hours. So you open your eating window around noonish, and then you have an 8-hour eating window. It's great for weight management, weight loss, glucose and insulin. It also helps the body reduce its inflammatory load, and it helps your brain to become less inflamed, and helps with better focus. So I was just telling Al that for the past 2 weeks I've been doing intermittent fasting. So I really wanted to give myself like a really good try, because everything that I do here I try first, so that I can know what my clients are experiencing when they come in and say, it's really hard, I can't do it. So I want to understand, what they're saying to me. So I've been doing it for the past 2 weeks, and I have to tell you, it took me like 2 days to get over not eating in the morning. I make sure I'm well hydrated. I do my coffee with my MCT oil and a little bit of cream, and I am great until noon, where I open my eating window with a shake. And then I'll have probably 2 small meals, and I'm fine. Okay, intermittent fasting also helps improve insulin sensitivity. So how would you even know that if you never get your fasting insulin levels checked? So the next time you get blood work, this is a really important marker. Fasting insulin is a very important thing to look at. It's as important as looking at fasting glucose. We would want to make sure that we take refined sugar out of our life. Now, is it going to happen once in a while? You go to a party or you have a birthday cake? Sure, it happens once in a while, but not on a daily basis, right? You want to get rid of that. Because having refined sugar does cause us to have lower cognitive function, less ability to remember things, and it actually messes with our intelligence. So think about all those children that eat a Pop-Tart for breakfast and maybe a fruit drink and go to school. Think about how well they're going to perform at school. It also can damage the brain mitochondria, and long-term, lifetime of refined sugar, your brain cannot actually repair the injury anymore. Can also cause changes in the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is what controls our memory, mostly our memory, but also stress and emotions. So things like brain fog happen when we eat a lot of refined sugar. So if that's happening to us as adults, imagine what's happening to children when they get to school. They can't really focus. And then that's a whole nother topic about children, ADHD, ADD, children that have to struggle with those things just on a daily basis, right? We want to try not to eat too late. So we were talking earlier before you guys all came about eating late at night. So if you have to eat late at night, make it a very small meal. Because when we eat late at night and then go to bed, our blood gets shunted to our gut and not our brain. And really, when we're sleeping, we want the blood flow to go to our brain, okay, not our gut. We want to exercise. So, I always ask people, what do you like to do? Do you like to walk? Do you like yoga? Do you like to lift weights? Whatever it is, pick something or pick several things. So yoga, studies show that actually increases the size of the hippocampus, right? So better memory. Yogis have been studied and they have better memories. They're clearer. They can focus better. We want to sit less. Even if we have a job where we have to sit, get up all the time. Walk around your desk, walk down the hall and come back. So we want to do some kind of cardiovascular exercise, whether it's walking or running. The study that I was reading said that running actually increases the quality and the quantity of cells in the hippocampus. But not everyone's able to run. Physically, we're not all able to run, right? So walking, great. Walk at a brisk pace. And if you can't walk, ride a bike. I've even had people go and buy a desktop bicycle, just so that they can get their blood flowing, to do something. And if we can do strength training, do it 3 times a week for about 60 minutes. So it's not 10 minutes and I'm out, it's a good amount of time. And then, of course, this is a lifelong thing, we want to work on how do we handle stress. So the HPA axis, so I think in your, I'm not sure if I included this in your packet. So HPA stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. That's how our bodies handle stress. So our adrenal glands make cortisol, but if we make too much or too little, then we're going to have a problem with stress. We want to meditate. And so there is something called Muse, M-U-S-E, which is a compact EEG system that actually can sync with your phone. So if you have a hard time meditating on your own and you like apps for it and you want to use technology, do that. But if you can meditate on your own, do that. Sleep. It's a very elusive thing for so many people. People have poor sleep for so many different reasons. It could be hormonal. It could be their sleep hygiene, the room that they're sleeping in, if it's not dark enough. Are they on their phone right before they go to sleep? How much stress are they exposed to? Do we have sleep apnea? So if you have sleep apnea, you need to take care of that because that's interfering with your normal sleep. And that's a whole topic by itself because there's so many different reasons for people to have sleep apnea. So 7.5 to 8 hours per night is the ideal. Do we all do that every single night? No, but it's a good amount to shoot for. So we want to increase our REM sleep. So we want to have about 90 to 120 minutes per night. That's that rapid eye movement sleep. If you have a Fitbit Versa, that actually does a sleep tracker, and it'll show you how much, where are you sleeping at the best time, what time, and how much REM sleeping are you experiencing every night. And then we want to limit toxic exposure. So I have always been against plastic bottles, but recently I've really been trying to get plastic bottles out of my life because you don't realize how much you rely on them. You know, like today I put a glass bottle with some cups back there. I drink out of either aluminum or BPA-free plastic bottles, and my car is always, my bags are always full of bottles filled with water wherever I go, so that I don't have to pick up a water bottle at the local store. So, are we being exposed to lead? So that could be in our water and in certain chocolates, sadly. So buying organic chocolate, the best way to go. Lead actually blocks the effect of dopamine in our brain. So that will affect our focus, our concentration, and our ability to think quickly. Then we want to look at our makeup and skincare products. So just so you know, on November 18th, we are going to be doing a little workshop here about detoxification, and I'm going to explain to people how to do a proper detoxification. So in your folder, you have a sheet that talks about the 3 phases of detoxification. And also at our workshop, we are going to have a representative from a company called Beauty Counter. I don't know if you have heard of them, but they make very clean, they're very ethical skincare and makeup products. And she's going to be bringing samples for things for us to try. So, quick about detoxification, 3 phases. So detoxification is not just doing a juice fast. It's not drinking water for 3 days and calling that a detox. A soup cleanse is not a detoxification. I could list a million things that detoxification is not. what it is a very organized way to go through those 3 phases and to be educated about what will happen in each one of those phases. And your body needs help with that. So we use a great system here, a 10-day or even longer if people feel like they need to detox for even longer. A modified elimination diet and a 10-day cleanse, helping our liver to dump toxins. And because if our liver is not clean, if it's not able to dump toxins into the colon, then what happens? We end up with fatty liver disease, not a good picture. So we're all exposed to glyphosate, or what's in Roundup. There is actually, I meant to find out the name of the test, but there is actually a blood test that you can take now that tells you what your glyphosate levels are. So Roundup, you would think that they would have to take it off the shelves, but it's there. It's in Home Depot. You walk by it, huge displays, but people are dying. It's a broad spectrum antibiotic and herbicide. 2 billion pounds are used globally per year. It is water soluble, and so it's in the air, it's in the rainfall, and we find it in people's urine. Actually, I'm going to correct myself. I believe it's a urine test, that test for that. But if anybody's interested, I'll find out the name of it. So glyphosate is carcinogenic, and it increases inflammation in the human body. Okay, we're going to look at our medications, right? So maybe we have to take a medication. So things like sleeping pills or antacids, antidepressants, blood pressure medication, and statins, and a million other medications. You would never want to eliminate a medication unless you were working with your doctor on that, right? Certain statins have been known to be dementogens, which means they interfere with your brain from working properly. So what we do here is we put people on a great program, help them lose weight if that's part of their health goals, work on lowering their cholesterol, for example, naturally, have them exercising, do new blood work, and then we say, take this back to your doctor and show him what you've done. And sometimes we get a good response and sometimes we don't. But when doctors see the before and after, they're willing to at least say cut down the medication and then give you another few months. So that's a good thing. Work with your doctor on eliminating as many medications as you're able to. You want to clean up your diet, your lifestyle, your blood work, then speak with your doctor, because I can tell you, I've had clients ask their doctor to lower their medication without doing all of this first, and doctors don't want to hear anything from you. But if you go in as an educated patient and say, this is what I've done, I've lost 25 pounds, I've cleaned up my diet, look at my blood work, what can we do with my medications? What's a reasonable plan here? And then we can recheck my blood work. So let's talk about brain support protocol. So I've listed some of the things that we use most commonly. We use the Omegagenics Neuro 1000 and the Magnesium L-threonate. So I'm just going to kind of go through my list. And again, I would not recommend every one of these for every person. It depends on the person and what we feel they could benefit the most from. Phosphatidylserine, I love, and actually Metagenics just came out with the highest milligram phosphatidylserine on the market, because previously I only knew of 100 milligrams, so now 150 milligrams is awesome. I'm happy about that. We use Cereva a lot here. For people that aren't willing to make all the changes that I want them to, but they really want help right out of the gate with their memory and focus, we use Cereva. It's a great product. We use Methyl Care to lower a patient's homocysteine level. So we talked before about blood work, and homocysteine is one of those markers. We use Phytomulti on the SpectraCell test, where we check for all your nutrient deficiencies. Sometimes people come out so deficient that the best thing I can do for them is to give them Phytomulti because it has everything in it. And it's a great, instead of giving them 10 products, I give them one great multivitamin. We use Benason for sleep. We use Blisphora for mood. And of course, MCT oil, I recommend across the board, whether you're doing the keto diet or not. At home, we make salad dressing with it, and that's what my family uses. When my middle son moved to Georgia, he said, "Mom, you have to send me the MCT oil. I bought one in the store and it's really nasty, and I can't eat salad until you send it to me." So Metagenics actually sent it right to him. So we would want to do our homework, right? We want to do our cognitive online questionnaire. We want to get our blood work done, and then we want to start to make some diet and lifestyle changes. It doesn't mean you have to do everything all at once. Pick 3 things that you're going to do from now until the end of the year. So maybe eliminating sugar would be the first. That would be a great recommendation, right? And we're coming into a season where sugar is everywhere. But it would be awesome, wouldn't it, for us to be able to do that at this time of year, to say, okay, you know what, I'm deciding for myself that I'm not going to eat refined sugar. Will people give you a hard time? Yes. Will people look at you like there's something wrong? Absolutely, 100%. But it's worth it. I'll just tell you this one other quick funny story. I'm sort of looked at a little bit like an oddball in my whole Italian family. But I never push my things onto anybody else. I went to a family party, cousins, uncles, everybody, and everybody brought food. I just picked what I like, and great. People brought gluten-free things. People bought regular things, and so at the end, my cousin said to me, "Hey, does anybody want coffee?" And I said, "Oh, I'll have a cup of coffee." And he's like, "Okay, just go in the fridge and grab whatever you want, for your creamer." So I was like, "Okay." So I opened the fridge, and there's half and half in there, which is what I will usually do. But they did have a coffee mate in there. Oh. And I said, I know it's bad, but I just feel like having a cup of coffee. So I just grabbed it. And if there was a TV camera there, he would have turned it on. He stopped the party. He literally stopped the party and brought attention to the fact that I actually picked out the coffee maker. And so I'm a good sport. I just laughed and said, ha ha ha. But it's okay. So, sometimes when you make these changes and you live as clean a lifestyle as you can, sometimes people will laugh at you, and sometimes people will, watch what you're doing. I meet people in the grocery store every Friday, and they say hello to me, and they look in my cart. Yeah, right? They look at my cart because they want to see, am I buying anything bad?
You do.
And sometimes I do. and it's okay. So I'm just saying, you know, make the changes you can. You don't have to turn your whole life around, but make the changes that you can. It doesn't all have to be by the end of the year, but pick a few things that you think you can do, reasonable things that you can do. So I thank you for coming tonight. There is a little slip of paper in there. If you don't mind doing a quick review, Karen has raffle tickets for you. We are gonna raffle off a great backpack that was given to us from Medigenic, so there's all kinds of goodies in there. And thank you, Al, for the books that you brought, but everyone gets either the Brain Body Diet or Younger by Dr. Sarah Godfrey. And again, I used a lot of the information tonight from the Brain Body Diet book. I have not yet read Younger, but I plan on doing it if Al will give me a copy. So don't leave without putting your name in for the raffle. If you can do a Google review, if you don't mind doing it. And we have some snacks. If you're hungry, I know it's late. We have some celery, we have a little bit of fruit, and water, and we'll bring that out to you. But if you have questions, now would be the time also.
Is Alzheimer's really genetic?
Not all.
Not all.
Not all
Because my mother and my grandmother, I was tested and I thought it was fine, but I don't know about that.
So, you know, there's many, not just the ApoE 3 and 4 genetic mutations, there's so many more that if you read Dr. Bredesen's book, there's so many more that we can be tested for, so we don't really know. So, you know, I guess it's, if you have people in your family before you and you see that might be a possibility, you would want to do everything that you can. Because remember, any health condition, it's 1/3 genetics. 1/3 diet and lifestyle, and the other third is toxicity. So we can't control genetics, we can control diet, lifestyle, and toxicity. And so that's what we all need to do every day, right? Avoid toxins, do a formal detoxification, maybe once a quarter, 4 times a year. You don't have to do it more often than that unless you are exposed to toxins, you work with toxins, then you would do it more often. But
How much of all of this, like, it sounds like most people here, clients of yours are not.
a couple,
Okay.
yeah, only a couple.
I just saw it in the paper, and I
Great.
seen my mom and my grandmother and her father all had Alzheimer's. I'm dealing with my mom right now, and so, how much of all of this, I guess, would you provide as like a service to your clients, like the blood work, and obviously the nutritional counseling and everything is something that you do, but as far as like the genetic testing and everything, is that something that you do as well?
So I can order some genetic testing, and I can order any blood work. Yes, so the answer is yes, I can do that. When it gets into the genetic testing that I don't know anything about, then I would have to defer to a neurologist or a specialist in that field. But I've had people come to me that have early Alzheimer's, and their doctors don't do all that genetic testing.
No, they don't typically.
No, and I think because not all of it would be covered by insurance. I know that there are some doctors in the country that do these specialized Alzheimer's programs, and it is all out of pocket, 100% out of pocket. Maybe a little bit of the blood work is covered. So our health insurance system hasn't caught up with that. But so much of all those blood markers we can actually,
Like the APO.
yep, we can do that, homocysteine, MTHFR, those are things that I can order. And if you have some family history, you might wanna know that.